Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our discussions of this really brilliant series, which is Small Acts from Steve McQueen. And specifically in the context of this release from the Criterion collection for this year of 2023, which is right here on the table, this multi-disc Blu-ray set, which is Small Acts, 5 films by Steve McQueen. And as some of you may know, we have been going through the works that are incorporated or included in such series Small Acts. And so today, I'd like to focus our attention, if I may, on one such work, which is again from the year 2020. And this is a work which is directed by Steve McQueen, screenplay by Alastair Siddons and Steve McQueen, and starring Shay Cole as Alex Wheatle. And so here we have another work which is having its inspiration, having its links to a sense of fidelity with the past and real life events and real life persons. In particular here, the events with regard to a particular historical event that took place in Brixton in 1981, the so-called Brixton Uprising. And also the lead up to such events, both in terms of a social, political, and historical incident and event, as well as the psychological and emotional effects of people that were in one way or another associated with such event. And here we have, I think, the focus on one specific individual, that being Alex Wheatle, the Alex, as portrayed here by Shay Cole. And what a performance this is, and what a story this is. And what we can say is that this is a film that is arranged and organized and structured such that we are really given this emotional character portrait of this individual, this based on a real life person. Given a sort of cinematic voice and expression in the hands of this really great Shay Cole performance. And I say multifaceted because we get a sense of who he is from his childhood and his upbringing, and we understand too that there were a certain set of hardships that he had to confront and deal with ever since he was quite young. So that sets the stage for a type of a psychological character portrait, as well as setting the stage for certain elements of racial prejudice that are, again, part of the discussion points that are inextricably linked with a viewing and interpretation of the work Small Acts, including, of course, this work, Alex Wheatle. And so we have that upbringing, and also touching upon touching upon also the West Indian heritage aspect, which we also understand forms part of the social cultural landscape that we saw linked with, say, aspects of other works such as a Mangrove and Lover's Rock and Red, White, and Blue. And here we have that also on sort of full display, again in the context of this individual portrait. And I use this phrase individual portrait too because there are these links to links of fidelity to a historical past of public record, and there are these links to real life persons. And here we have this dramatic telling or retelling of these events, taking into consideration or through the sort of cinematically constructed prism of a type of, say, for lack of a better phrase, a type of, say, transformation and a type of change. And I think these words transformation and change carry with it a lot of weight, because here we have, again, the 1981 Brixton Uprising being one of the key historical contextual events that form the basis of this work, Alex Wheatle, and also the very key events that have a lot of circumstance and a lot of consequence with regard to what happens to him. So that is, of course, something that has to do with the flow of change or the efforts made to foment change. But it's not just that meaning of change, but it's also on a sort of macro political context, or a macro social political context. But rather, it is also perhaps even simultaneously, this idea of change from within, or changing of mind and spirit, a transformation, a fundamental shift of viewpoint. And this is, I think, at the very heart and soul of the series Small Acts, and indeed what one can say the metaphor that is engaged with when one thinks, in fact, of the title Small Acts. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in the video discussion series. But I think what we have is a really great example here of the change of transformation of viewpoint and sort of philosophical outlook of the individual spirit as embodied by the experience of Alex Wheatle, as we see the story of whom being told in this work, Alex Wheatle. And we see, therefore, the circumstances of his incarceration and the effect that such incarceration had at the immediate outset of that time, and also the people that he meets, and also how that inspires him to have what could arguably be said to be a shifted or an outlook that will therefore maybe inform the rest of his life and his activities and his viewpoint and his identity. Going forward, again, in the context of the micro and his individual story, and also in the broad macro context as well. And that element of social change and transformation taken in parallel, or in the context of the individual, or shall I say spiritual change or transformation of Alex Wheatle, as we can arguably say is one of the interpretations of this work, Alex Wheatle, and the story of Alex Wheatle in the hands of Steve McQueen and Alistair Siddons and others, I think is one of the great strengths of this work. I mean, this is showing a sense of how, and to take it one step further, it's showing how there is a strong link between a type of macro social change and the micro interior philosophical viewpoint change that I think Alex Wheatle could be said to be undergoing, or we witness him undergoing. So that type of before-after effect, both on the individual level and also the way we see it played out, or the waves or the currents that we see in dynamic motion on the macro level, and how those are linked. That's a very powerful linkage indeed. And so I think that's one of the fundamental bases for the artistic and creative success of this work, Alex Wheatle. I thought it was, again, my first time watching this, but I found it to be incredibly effective. And I found it also to be, I loved how it had this idea, this sense of the sweep of history, links to the fidelity of the historical past record, much like past works like, say, Red, White, and Blue and Mangrove, and to a certain degree as well, Lover's Rock. At the same time, those films, in their own unique way, focus too on the individual stories, and in that way applied a certain cinematic storytelling, dramatic, drama-based retelling of their stories, again, applying cinematic technique to great effect. And I think here we have a similar type of dichotomy, or a balance between the application of cinematic storytelling effect to enhance drama, but also keeping the faithful links of fidelity to the real-life events and persons. And here, much like the other films, we have a focus on the individual story. But one can say, too, there's a structural difference. I like how there's a type of shift in, there's a different type of storytelling method here in terms of shift in perspectives from one, that one can say, type of shifts in chronology that were in a certain degree as well, say, employed in works like, say, Red, White, and Blue. But here we have the same but different, connected but unique. wholly related, but also set off, which I like that. I like that sense of the works that we engage with in small acts. Each it's its own set of stories and its own entity and its own set of unique issues, but also at the same time they form a part of a broader historical and cinematic landscape. So I like that ever present dynamism, shall we say. And it's present here. It's also present in other works. So it's really great. So I like those similarities and differences that occur here. And wow, as I say, I should say once again, the great performances by everyone concerned, and special mention for Shay Cole in the role of Alex Wheatle. Wow, what a performance indeed. So very, very impressed with this work, which is Alex Wheatle. And so once again, the Criterion Collection has released small acts on this, or in this multi-disc Blu-ray set. Among such discs, we have the disc 2 of the small acts part of this, and I'm pulling it out of the casing as we speak. And so on such disc 2, which is the disc below disc 1 here, on such disc we have the option of watching the film, which is Alex Wheatle. So if you press that selection, or you make that option, you go into that part, and then you can find, among other things, the supplements. But before we get to the supplements, let me say that about the masters, as part of the great booklet here, there's a note that says, about all the films, including Alex Wheatle, it says, the 5 films of small acts are presented in their original aspect ratios, Alex Wheatle in 2.00 to 1. Approved by director Steve McQueen, these new digital masters were created in 2K resolution from the 4K digital camera files for Lovers Rock and Alex Wheatle. And then the original 5.1 surround soundtracks were remastered from the digital audio master files. So here we have, yes, the application of digital video technique. And again, like the other films, this is my first time to watch small acts, and thus my first time to watch Alex Wheatle. So unfortunately, I don't have any relevant or frame of reference, shall we say. So I can't make any comparative analysis, not having seen this in broadcast form or any other form outside of the Criterion release. But that being said, wow. Here we have an interesting thing here. Now, I must say that my eye doesn't indicate to me such a huge difference between, say, the application of 35 millimeter that we saw in, say, Mangrove or Red, White, and Blue, and then the use of digital video that we see in, say, Lovers Rock and now here Alex Wheatle. I don't see any huge difference. There is a subtle difference, but I don't see it to be overly present. So in that way, it's similar yet different, which I think is one of the great, maybe, mantras of how one can view and interpret and appreciate the works of small acts overall. Similar but different, same but unique. And I think that's certainly true for how we can, or how I view the presentation of Alex Wheatle here, because the work Alex Wheatle, because there is a way in which one can say that digital video here, and much like in a similar sense, Lovers Rock, there's a way in which it's being used in a way to transport into a truly the realm of the intimate, of the real close in proximity scope. And we get a sense of that here, especially when we have scenes, a lot of scenes involving interior spaces. And again, it's about an interior transformation. So in that way, one can maybe healthily speculate that the philosophy behind the application of digital video and the technology associated therewith might have been a part of the reasoning behind that, as well as maybe budget reasons and the like, as well as visual aesthetics. So I think that's all part of the package, and I think it's performed and applied to extremely fine effect here. So in terms of the visuals and looks and sounds too, the detail and prescriptions and music choices, this is also very important indeed. It's touched upon in a supplement that's found included with Lover's Rock. So well done indeed. So once again, I am thoroughly impressed with the presentation and the looks and sounds of Alex Wheatle as it's found in the Criterion release. And then, so now let's turn to the supplement section. So again, returning to my earlier comments, so we go into the section about Alex Wheatle, and we have the section of the supplements, because once again, like with the other Small Axe films, we have a set of supplements that are combined with or included with the menu for Alex Wheatle. So one can say that they're linked to the work Alex Wheatle. So what do we have here? So we have another behind the scenes. This is approximately 4 minutes, and this is with, let's see, people being interviewed like Shay Cole, like Alex Wheatle, and others. And so we have the sort of points about the genesis of the film, also the links between the dramatic storytelling and recreation, and the links to the real life events and people that form the basis of this dramatic storytelling, etc. So again, it's very brief. It's only 4 minutes, but it's very much worth it to get a little bit of insight into, again, the genesis and creative process here. So the behind-the-scenes section, approximately 4 minutes, and then we have a trailer that's also part of this as well in terms of the supplements. So by my count, that is it as far as the supplements are concerned. So. Let me then say I will make these comments in a later video, but I really appreciate getting as much information as I can about the story and the historical record and the like. We get a sense of that, or I get a sense of that in the behind the scenes, but I am left wanting a lot more. And so it would have been great not to take anything away from the supplements here, not to take anything away from the story, which is a really great and compelling story, but perhaps because it's so great and such a compelling story, that makes me eager to want to get more supplements. So it would have been nice to have seen more supplements added by Criterion. We don't get, in terms of quantity, we don't get that here. Which, again, I will try to address a little bit later in the wrap-up video in terms of minor critiques of the set overall. But I don't want to have that be in any way a type of knock against the film, because it's not. I mean, if we think about the work, once again, the work is staggering. It's very compelling. Again, the inward journey linked to the external efforts at transformation and social change. I mean, that is mind-boggling stuff. So, truly wonderful work indeed. And then just to wrap up, I will, once again, in a separate video, in a wrap-up video, I will talk a little bit more about the packaging and the cover art design and the digipack and also the booklet. So, but before we leave this discussion, let me say that as part of the booklet on pages 10 and 11, we have a section or a set of pages devoted to Alex Wheatle, the work, a little write-up and a photo, and then also on this side we have cast and crew. So just for your information about the booklet. So once again, we will talk a little bit more about the booklet and other matters for the set overall in a separate video. But for now, that is our discussion of the work Alex Wheatle. That's part of this great series, Small Axe. So. My dear friends, what do you think? Please, of course, feel free to leave your comments down below. As always, I'd love to hear what it is you have to say. But that's it for now, my dear friends. So until the next video, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. So until the next video, my dear friends, stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.